Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. I run a small boutique matchmaking company that started out of Los Angeles. And today I help men all across the US meet Asian women. And my guest today is Michal Naisteter. And she's going to tell you a little bit about what she does. This is not her first time as a guest on my show because she's always so fun to talk to that I invited her back. So, Michal, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what we're going to talk about today.
Thanks for having me, and you're so fun to talk to too. So I have been a matchmaker for quite a while now, and I think that my style of matching people involves, yes, setting up dates and concierging, but also starting out with a process where we look at who they are and how to be who they want to be and how they show up in the world. I love that process of moving through change to get yourself really, really ready to be with a partner, because you and I both know that once you meet someone, then the difficult stuff really begins.
So, what are we going to talk about today? About your men's group, right?
Yeah, that's one of the fun things that I'm doing amongst others. I'm also a digital nomad now and trying out that lifestyle. And so I think that a matchmaker can both be boots on the ground, running around and meeting tons of people. And then a matchmaker can also be someone who's like spatially everywhere and meeting people all over and threading this needle between like what's going on between love and relationships. And something that I would say that I've noticed is that the division between men and women has grown bigger over my time in the dating space. Like the
Also,
rift between how women and men understand each other.
what's the biggest difference that you've seen in your experience dealing with men and women?
I would say in general, there's just more isolation from each other. Like there's more places to turn to virtually that kind of echo the same story that you've been telling yourself, like men are like this or women are like this, right? The way that people have Reddit threads that will support their theories, you know. Does that make sense?
I feel like if you go down the Reddit rabbit hole, you can really get lost in the threads and the topics and discussions. So, is that something you do look under Reddit to feel like, oh, maybe this is a hot topic right now? This is what I should address in my matchmaking and my date coaching?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do. I do look at what men are talking about and their frustrations in dating and how they use these virtual spaces. I mean, what I'm able to see, right? Because Reddit, we're all able to see it, but there's probably a lot of things I'm not privy to. Um, but I would say my most powerful experience recently was like launching the men's group with my colleague, Dr. Travis Ingersoll, who was a fellow sexologist that I met when I was studying sexology, and being able to hear the conversations that men have live about their frustrations is so different than when you're working with a man one on one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In these groups, hopefully people are being very open and really telling you what they think and what they want help on. So, I know one of the topics that we talked about off camera is, do you think men feel pressure to live up to an outdated standard of strength, in quotes? What would a healthier version of strength look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I think ultimately women are looking for reliability. Um, and that's very much connected to strength. You know, like words are nice, but really showing up. And for men to be able to emotionally show up would really build trust, right? Showing that they've worked on themselves and then showing up physically. And I think that it is deeply attractive, but at first I don't think that women are won over by it, you know?
Wait, are you saying that if a man and a woman go on a date and a man confesses or says, yeah, I have been working on myself. I'm going to self-help seminars. I'm seeing a therapist. Is that looked as a weakness through the woman's eyes, or you think the women are like, oh, that's great. I'm glad you're getting help for this. I'm glad you're seeking help and acknowledging that you could use help. Is that more
Absolutely.
attractive?
Yeah, yeah. So there's this fine line, right, between the man having a very genuine desire to get to know her and who she is at her core and like let her release her mind, right? And then the man showing who he is. When a man shows that he is working on himself, I think it is deeply attractive to women. There's just like, again, this fine line where he shouldn't overshare. And that's harder for, I would say, men to navigate because they want to show their strength, and vulnerability is a part of strength. But we talked about in my men's group about you know men's first experience of crying and how they're reacted to when they do cry, as a child. And now parents are doing things differently. I would say the tides are really turning, but it's hard for men to do these things, right? And also, as adults in dating, I don't know that women are always able to receive men's vulnerability up front, right? It might take
They
some
say they
time.
want it, but they sometimes don't want it with open arms. For example, if a man says, yeah, I'm working on myself, I go to seminars and things like that, is it better just to mention, yeah, I do value working on myself and being more aware of myself, but they don't get into exactly what they're doing. Like they don't talk about their therapy sessions, but they would say, oh, yeah, I have a therapy appointment on Friday, and let it go at that. So the woman knows, oh, he is working on himself, or he is aware, or he's saying that he could use help, but just let it be and just not dwell on it and have your whole date talk about his therapy session like that. Is that a better way to let a woman know that, yeah, I am aware of some things I'm working on for the better? And, but there are even times when people should and could go to therapy, even if they don't have issues they're working on, right? They don't have problems that they're working through, but they just want to go for support, like ongoing support.
Exactly. So, like sliding it into a conversation that you're reading self help books, that you're going into therapy, that you're building in a new spiritual practice, something like that is really good without making it the focus of the date, right? Because you also want to impress her and show strength and stuff like that. And look, like dating isn't just luck, right? There's also a design to it, and so you have to balance these things carefully. So I like your idea, like slide it in a little bit. Women are rather sensitive, I've noticed, to being used as a therapist in a session. Or I was talking to, I set up a date recently where he is more vulnerable and good at sharing. I know him well. And she just talked to me about how she had to, like, oh my God, like I really need to show up in a different way. Like I kind of wasn't expecting that.
Well,
And
that's
then it,
even with your friends, right? Sometimes you hang out with a friend and all of a sudden they're unloading their whole life onto you during lunch. And you're like, I just wanted to hang out and see what's new with you and to catch up. I didn't think it would be this deep of a conversation. So you just have
like,
to
hold
be
on.
mindful. Right. I think as daters or friends or anybody, we just have to be mindful of the audience, right? Like, yes, you're stuck getting your hair done for an hour. Maybe you can use your hairstylist as a therapist because that's going to make the time go by faster. But people just have to be aware of how they come off to other people, right?
That's right, they do. And then they also need to think about what they're chasing. Because I think that a lot of people are still chasing butterflies when really what they should be chasing is roots. And you're not always going to feel butterflies, right, on a first date, especially when people are oversharing or when you just talk about what you do, which, obviously we need to ban that question from dating, like what do you do? Um, but to be able to see that you could plant roots with someone is really hard. You have to listen for how they show up in their life for their friends and then what access to networks they have. This is where men being a part of groups instead of just dealing with things individually, I think is really powerful. So I think it's great for men to share, who they lean on when they're on a date to show that they have that. Because I think women get a little bit weary that like everything is going to be placed on me, right?
I feel like men should have at least two or three good buddies that they can do things with and rely on and have that be part of their social life. You can't have your
Mm-hmm.
wife or your girlfriend be your social life and be your everything. That's just too exhausting for her. I'm just thinking of my relationship with my husband. I like when he has guy friends that he goes golfing with or that he wants to meet up and catch up with or talks on the phone with, because I can't be that person for him for all of his outlets of whatever they talk about, sports or, whatever that may be. So I think it's healthy for men and women to have their own social circle, because otherwise it could be a lot for your partner to absorb everything.
I think the people who find love faster are the people who are supported. And community is a fast track way to do that. It's like community is a shortcut to love. And so, yes, having, people that you go out and do things with, but also the type of community that's like, if I call them, if they needed me, I would show up for them. And ultimately, it's too much to put everything on one partner. We both know this. And that's what people should do on a first date, really seeking out like, is this a potential friend for me? What type of community do they have when they show up to dating events or networking events? They should just be expanding their community as much as possible
Yeah,
instead of just
that's a
putting
really
it on
good
Reddit.
tip. I like that. That's a really good practical life tip, not just dating tip, but a life tip. I mean, I'm suspicious of people who say, "Oh, I don't have any friends." Like, are you a loner? And I'm also suspicious of people who say they don't like dogs. But I mean, I feel like it's why don't you have any friends? Like, you need to make friends. It's a skill to make friends, just like dating is a skill. You want them to have people around you so you could bounce ideas off of, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, we think that dating is just about one person, but it's really about finding your network. And, yesterday I was talking to someone who's from like comes from more of like a kink background. And I was talking to that person about like when they're in these spaces, they really just need to be adopted by the extrovert, because they're an introvert. And so it's on us extroverts in whatever communities we're in to adopt the introverts because it creates a symbiotic relationship. And that's really important for you to find connection and love.
So, Michal, you're an extrovert. So when you see there's a introvert at the corner of the room or in a group, what do you do personally to make that person feel welcomed and to draw them in? What are some things that you've done? I mean, we've been to matchmaking conferences together. And if you see like a matchmaker who's brand new to the conference, who hasn't made a lot of friends yet, what are some things you can do to bring her in or bring him in?
To help them out. I think making them feel invited, and approaching them goes a long way. I think it's much harder for an introvert to like break into a circle, right?
Yeah,
You're saying with matchmakers or in general when I see
in
introverts?
general, like it could be you see a brand new matchmaker at a conference, or you see,
Or just like at my dating events, if I see a
yeah,
man who's like a loner, I think it's important to create a conversation and then do the next step of, strength spotting, something that you like about them, something that you notice, making them feel safe. And then the third thing is rolling them into another conversation.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know, like brain science, but I'm saying that just to say, like, May, meet X person, you should talk about this. I think you would have this in common. It makes people feel so good. And I love when I've done that at different dating events and then seeing them still talk to each other. We've
Right.
made matches this way.
Yeah, I think human nature, we just all like to be invited to do something, right? So if you see someone standing somewhere alone, you can also say, "Hey, do you want to come over here and meet my friends?" Like everyone just want to be included, right? That's how we make friends and make people feel good. And the more people you do that with, the more likable you are, that hopefully they'll introduce you to their friends. And it's an endless cycle. But yeah, I do think it's tougher for men to make friendships or to become friends with someone. They're just not used to that. Like it's easier for a man to naturally talk to a woman because a woman is, you know, talking to them and asking them questions and inviting them to meet other people and things like that. So,
Not all women are good at it. Yeah, so in my men's group, I would say like we really started with like setting intentions and creating a safe space and building trust and going deep really quickly. And we moved into talking about like, masculine identity and acceptance and like diving deep. And we asked that men come to all of this. It was a 6 session group, and we're starting another one in a few weeks, which I'm sure you'll drop the link or something like that. But reconnecting to self and then connecting to others is really powerful, to build all of these types of intimacy, right? So ultimately, when you're in a relationship, you need to have a relationship with them, and then you need to have intimacy that you find in other places,
so what kind
right?
of men come to your group? What's the ideal client for this group?
Yeah. So I could see it being really good for men who are divorced or widowed and like starting to step into like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Um, it's also really good for men who they get those paragraph texts and they get labeled the nice guy. I love those men. I love them so much. They those types of men who struggle with that type of energy that you need on a date with like the push and the pull.
Mhm.
And men who just want to feel supported by others because they feel like they're hitting their head against a wall, but they don't want to just use pickup artist tricks.
Right.
But ultimately, like we don't get a lot of sex education, right? Growing up, and we did a lot in our group talking about pleasure centers and anatomy and tantra and learning about the G spot and I don't know the power of sensual touch. And we watch good videos and doing that in an environment instead of just like watching porn.
So it's almost like a group where you normally don't think about being part of, but yet you're going to learn so much in this group and talk about almost taboo topics that you're not talking to your friend about at a bar when you're sitting and having beers. Like this is something that you really pursue and find and being intentional about, you know what, I want to talk about these things and I want to be comfortable talking about these things and to learn about these things. You're right. We don't get human sexuality training, even in college. You have to seek it out by picking it as a class, right? As a course. So it's not like they're just everywhere on the street where you can just sign up for a class.
Ultimately, it's a container, and when you have a container set up for example, when us matchmakers we set up a date and it creates a container and we create
Mhm.
parameters, or when you set up a group or a class and you design it so that people can show up as their best self, right? Like I believe when we set up dates, people are showing up differently than when the date is online,
Mhm.
right? When you create containers, more connection can flow.
Yeah.
And that means that you know, tell them what they can do and what they can't do and like what's the goal and checking in on them. And I think that it creates hope and optimism and connection when you could just like be yourself in this container that people create. Actually, I have a couple that just came out of a an authentic relating event that I held with someone else, and like I invited a bunch of people, and another matchmaker invited a bunch of people, and you know, there were like activities where people can just share. Like one activity was called like hot seat, and like everybody gets put in the hot seat, and you can ask them anything, but also they don't have to answer. And that's an example of a container, right? Like you make a game that people can play, so it brings in the game element, but you allow space for people to share their feelings. I love those things. I think it's just like matchmakers cut through the noise. We bring down the fatigue, and we create these spaces for people to really show up.
But it's only a great group if you go in there wanting to share and wanting to participate, right? So these are very interactive. It's not just like someone who's super shy and they come in and they're just observing. Like they're not going to get anything out of it if they're just observing.
But again, we have to remember that when we talk about success in groups and when we talk about the success of matchmaking, like everybody can have their own version of success. So
True.
someone who comes into a Zoom room and in the beginning they're afraid to turn their camera on, and by the end they're turning on their camera, right? Which happened in my group. To right, some people extroverts can come freely and like I'm ready to share or whatever, and then there's people who you know they need to dip their toes, but by the end their foot is fully in, and that's success and that's growth for them. And I think that when I don't know, how do you answer the success question in matchmaking?
Going back, I'm sorry, your groups are online, it's virtual group, it's not in
Yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I was
Oh,
just
okay.
mentioning a dating event, but my a dating event that mixed men and women,
Okay.
and that I have a recent success from. But my groups for men are virtual.
Okay. I think that's actually probably more comfortable for them, right? Like they have the option of turning on their camera or not, but if they do feel comfortable not turning on the camera, then they don't have to, right?
We asked them to,
Okay.
um, but there was someone who was a little bit scared too, but eventually did. And then people, when they start sharing, it was beautiful to see men validating each other. Like, oh,
Uh,
that meant a lot to me that you shared that.
yeah. Back to your question of
Define
how I
success.
measure success with matchmaking. I mean, there's a bunch of ways. For example, the obvious way, if someone gets in a relationship, puts their membership on hold, and they don't want to see anyone else except for the person that you recommended to them, or they get engaged, move in together, get pregnant, get married, that all counts as success for sure. However, there are situations where a man comes to me and he hasn't dated a whole lot and he wants to date slowly. They want me to handhold them more. So there's more date strategy sessions. There's more talking like this on Zoom or on the phone or texting, and me being kind of on call for them to help them text a woman and for them to learn about dating. So he might learn about dating, feel more comfortable about dating, and then he'll go off on his own and maybe do online dating or meet someone organically on his own. And he just had the best experience with me, even though he didn't meet his next partner with me. But he's like, wow, I actually learned a lot from you, from how to write my profile, what kind of photos to pick in the event I do online dating. I learned about when I should ask a woman out, when I should text her, when to set up the date and plan the date. So there are many things that men find that I've helped them. So their definition of, okay, this was a successful experience with matchmaking was you help them with their confidence, you help them dip their toes back in the dating pool. So there's a bunch of different things. And sometimes the clients meet someone on their own during the time that they're with you because their mindset is, you know what, I want to date, I want to find somebody, and they might meet someone at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's on their own, and which is great, but they can still use me as a resource when it comes to, date coaching or date strategizing. So there's a bunch of different ways that I categorize success, but mainly if they want to renew with me, it means that they had a great time. So there are clients that are so picky that I give them great dates and they have good dates, first date, second date, third dates. It just didn't go all the way to a relationship, but he had such a great time with me finding people for him to meet that he renewed with me 2 or 3 times. So if someone wants to renew with you, I feel like, you know what? They find value in what you do. And that makes me feel good. Like they're in a better place because they worked with a matchmaker, because we do a lot of hand holding. We kind of force them to meet people sometimes, right? By saying, hey, are you available this Friday? Hey, there's 2 women I sent you via email. Can you check it out and see if you want to meet one of them or both of them? So it just really pushes them along to focus on their dating life. So that's success to me, is if I help them become a better dater from when they first started to when they're done with me. So
People often think they're really good daters, but like, have you, I totally hear you, and I'm in line with you about that level of success. I love working with men like that too. And I think that there's more and more of them popping out of the woodwork who maybe retreat into not stepping into dating because of fear, and like they don't feel like they're a typical man and whatever it may be. And to finally get guidance from a matchmaker like us, and then they find a match so freaking quickly, if not through us. And I feel like that success tastes so sweet. But yeah, the fact is that like delayed sexual debut, late life virginity, whatever we're calling it, is becoming more and more common. People don't go to parties as much as anymore. Clubs are starting to shut down. People aren't drinking as much. And so these skill sets, right, are really wearing down in our society. Maybe we're building new skill sets, like people all know how to make sourdough bread or something from the pandemic. But being able to truly see someone, I run into the situation, and tell me if you've had this too, where you set up this type of nice guy on a date, and then I talk to a woman and she goes, he didn't get to know me at all. And then I talk to my client about that, and they go, well, I learned this about her, and I learned where she works, and I know this, and I know about this, and da 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 da. And they're having this like kind of breakthrough that they need to do, that it's not just that you learn the facts about her, right?
yeah, I just feel like if people are single, they just need to give people a chance, really. It's just, even if they meet, 70% of your list, then just go meet them and see what they're like. See if they can like, win you over with the other parts of real life dating. I feel like people don't go out on dates because they're like, oh, I don't want to waste his time. I don't want to waste my time. Like, it's an hour, 2 hours. You drive 30 minutes, you sit there for an hour and you date, and then you go home for another 30 minutes. Like, is that really that bad to spend 2 hours of your life to potentially meet the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? I don't understand why so many people are so closed off to just meeting. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, did I think I was going to marry someone 10 years younger? No. Did I think I was going to marry someone who's a smoker? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many things that you need to just overlook and not overlook. There's so many ways to get to know people and give them a chance. Because when I first met you, Mahal, it wasn't like you were instantly in love with me as your new friend, right? It took us maybe 2 or 3 times of getting to know each other before we got to the place where we are today, where we could text each other randomly and chit chat whenever we want. But it takes time to even make platonic friendships. So why not use that same amount of openness to try to find a romantic relationship?
Yeah, I think it really begs the question of what is time and why is everybody so scared that they're time deficient? Because personally, I love when time stops and I'm really talking to someone, and I'm traveling right now and I'm a digital nomad. And when I meet someone and hear about their life or their experience traveling, or I talk to couples and their relationship and how they're living their life, making time stand still is not what's happening when you're like kind of getting all your dopamine hits and swiping through your apps and looking at reels and stuff like that. Like, I think time is the most um, best utilized when you're really present to someone. But this fear of wasting your time and that like people you meet is a waste of your time, you know?
I think
Ugh.
it's just bad time management. That's how people are like, oh, I don't want to waste their time. It's like you don't manage your time properly, and that's why you think you don't have enough time. Maybe we're just cramming too many things in our days that you can't just be more free with your meetings with people. I don't know. I mean, for me, today I crammed a lot of things in, but usually I like to maybe do two things a day, two big things, like if I'm going to go play pickleball, then maybe I'll have lunch. That's two events a day, right? But when I go to lunch, I don't want to be looking at my watch to say, oh gosh, it's already been an hour. I got to leave because I need to do the next thing. Like, how nice is if you go to lunch and you're enjoying each other's company, and next thing you know, it's like a 3 hour lunch, and you're like, wow, that was really good bonding time with my friend. Like, that's better than trying to like set three lunches up with three friends in one day.
Hmm. Yeah, like when we're surrounded with connection, love finds us faster, and giving our time to nurturing connection, it just makes sense to me. And not just fostering, old relationships in a small amount, but being open to new ones and giving time to explore that. It just feels like a gateway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
I think we all have so much we could learn from each other.
you're right. You're right. We do. Even like a random stranger, you can take one tidbit from that stranger and be like, huh, it was fun meeting him or her.
Have
So
you had that recently?
I always have that. Like, I just meet people and I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
When it comes to dating, you're not behind and you have time, but you need to give space for love and connections to breathe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's sad when people say that they are maybe like in their 40s and they've never dated, and they say that they don't want to date because they're like they don't want to date, but I feel like deep down they do want to date. So do you ever meet somebody who says like, "Oh, I'm too old to get married," or "I'm too old to date," but you're like, "But your dating can start at any age." If you really think about it, like it could have started when you're 16, 26, 36, 46, 56. Like,
Mm.
if you want something, you can go after it and pursue it and try to do better, right? Like, there are so many people that I work with that are maybe didn't date until they were in their 30s because they just didn't have time or didn't have the courage to start dating or didn't know how to start. But I agree with you. Dating can start at any age. If you want it bad enough, you can gain the skills to dating, even just
Yeah,
baby steps.
it's not too late. Remember that connection begets connection. So whether it's finding like a group in a space or a matchmaker or an extrovert who's gonna adopt you, like it's not too late. Maybe you're not time affluent, but remember that putting your time into connection and growing is the most important thing. Life is better when lived with other people.
That's why women live longer than men, right? It's because we have all these connections. We talk about things and we are excited to be alive and to do things. And I feel like men would live longer if they have more of these connections with other men or women, just
I
connections in
know.
general.
People are spending like the average I've heard is 90 minutes swiping a day. You know, they're searching so much for it. But if you just spent 90 minutes talking to a stranger,
Yeah, seriously, just going out to Starbucks and sitting there and reading a book or on your computer and talk to the person next to you. Um, what would be a dating tip you would give if you could, one of the men that were in your groups, what would be a dating tip you would give one of the men in your groups now that they graduated from your group of X amount of weeks? Like, what's a good tidbit you would tell them?
I think to make sure to share the ways in which you're working on yourself in this moment, not just by going to the gym, but the way that you are trying to make an edit in your life and some level of progress that you want to make. Like, I'm starting to do this, I'm starting to reach out to friends about this, or I'm trying to really hone in on like how I control my morning and being intentional, or I joined a group because I wanted to learn from other men. Giving people signals of your growth orientation is really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's in any date that people go on, right? Just to say, I would like to improve on this, or I'm trying to get better at this, or my goal between now until the end of the year, I really want to focus on this. So, what is something that you want to
So
focus on?
sexy.
What's that?
Something that like in my personal life or just
Yeah,
like
what
as
is
a
something you
matchmaker.
want? I mean, look, 2025 is coming to an end. What is something that you want to focus on between now and December 31st?
I'm trying to cut my addiction to sugar. Sugar.
Okay, what are you doing to cut your addiction to sugar?
Um, yeah, I mean, just like trying to not eat processed foods because there's so much like hidden sugar, you know? There's just
Oh,
so much research about how people feel when they cut out sugar and they get headaches. So I'm just trying to not be like a sugar fiend.
so what are you using? Are you having dates instead, or maple syrup or honey instead of
No,
processed white sugar?
yeah, yeah, just no sugar in general. Yeah. Aside from eating fruit,
Okay, so
which
you're
honestly, like, aren't apples like a sugar bomb or something like that? So,
no, that's all good sugar, like fruits and vegetables. Like fruits are great sugar. Like if you're going to have like a Reese's peanut butter cup versus a slice of watermelon, have the slice of watermelon. It's going to not be bad at all. Like even orange or you could cut out like the sugary fruits, like pineapple is really sugary or mangoes are really sugary. But if you're just
I love
having like
mango.
a plum or a green apple, a green apple is better than a red apple, stuff like that. Like a tart apple is better than just your regular. But there's so many ways to feel good about still having sweets. Like honey's not bad. I have maple syrup, honey, dates. Dates are so good. If you're like craving sugar, just eat a dry date.
Mm,
Yeah.
fresh ones are also really good.
What's that?
But yeah, that's my personal thing I'm
Okay.
working on.
Okay, good, good. I think for me, something I'm trying to work on between now and the end of the year is to try to read books again. I feel like I'm always on my phone watching videos or the news and stuff like that. But for me to scroll less and really focus on reading books again is great. That's what I'm trying to do. So I love reading. I don't know why I got away from it.
All of us.
I know, I know. But anyway, Michal, I will put all of your information in the show notes, but please give me like a 1 minute spiel on why someone might look into your men's group.
I love working with men of all sorts, and I think that men now more than ever need safe spaces to explore dating and sexuality. And so I'm leading this with my colleague. If you want to find a space like this, hit me up. I would love to have you.
Yeah, it sounds like a great group. I feel like all men would benefit from it, right? Like even if they think they don't need it, but it's like a good add-on to your life. So well, thank you, Michal, for joining me today on the Asian Dating Podcast. And men and women out there, if you're looking for a matchmaker, I would love to help you. Please go to twoasianmatchmakers.com. Fill out a profile, ladies, so I know where to find you in case I have a great guy I want to set you up with. And men, if you're looking to hire a matchmaker in Los Angeles, Colorado, or all across the US, I would love to help you. So